Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Movie Mates review in the channel. I'm Matthew, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Oh,
Hey man, great to see you. Now it's the fifth episode of What If. If you haven't been keeping up to date with our channel recently, we've been reviewing all the Marvel Disney Plus shows, starting off with WandaVision and now making our way through this one. And today we've got a pretty exciting one because this one is kind of loosely based on a Marvel comic as well. It's kind of our first sort of Elseworld type tale, I guess, where I'm not too sure if there's been any sort of pre-existing material on the other episodes, but this one I definitely know there has been. I've been a big fan of the Marvel Zombies comics back in the day, so I'm really excited to talk about What If Zombies. So I'll pass over to Callum to explain what's been going on in the universe of the Avengers here.
so this sees a changed universe in which, prior to the events of Avengers Infinity War, during the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp, a zombie virus was discovered in the quantum realm by Janet Van Dyne. She was infected, and then through Hank Pym venturing into the quantum realm, spread it across all of America, it seems.
Seems
It
that
doesn't
way.
seem to have, well, it hasn't made it to Wakanda, so we can't really, those are sort of the only two locations touched on. We can't really even say that it made it across all of America, but by the fact that we see Thanos infected, we see people pounding on the shields of Wakanda, we can probably assume it's fairly worldwide. Uh, this crazy episode. We talked about the leaked running order of the series a couple episodes back. I sort of presumed based on that Party Thor was going to be this week's episode. But then I think 3 or 4 days ago, I realized there was actually going to be Marvel Zombies, so I was quite excited. But no, I don't think we have much to look forward to, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I remember mentioning to you, Callum, when we started this series in the channel that this was the episode I was most excited for, just because, as we're kind of saying, it has a basis in Marvel Comics anyway. But sure enough, this one is very different. It's kind of an MCU glossed Marvel Zombies where there's no real horrifying moments, although there is quite a few graphic animated scenes in here. It's not sort of as brutal maybe as the Marvel comic one, although there is a few nice little references in there and certainly scenes that are taken straight out of that comic. So I'm really excited to talk to you about this one. I guess the main thing I wanted to ask you was your thoughts on the roster here, mainly because it's not your sort of your typical MCU roster in the sense that there's characters from a lot of different movies here that necessarily you wouldn't necessarily think would work together. I'm talking about Happy, Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter, and those kind of characters as well. Well, what's your thoughts on the roster that they chose here?
I really love it. I'm glad that they committed to actors that they could actually bring back.
Yeah,
They
certainly.
didn't commit to characters like Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, who they know for a fact would be incredibly distracting. Amongst this group, that is the actual original actors. I mean, I think the guy who did the voice of Spider-Man was really impressive in his impression of Tom Holland. I think if we'd had someone different, I'd heard that Josh Keaton was playing him in this episode, but that's actually that's not true. It ended up being, I think his name's Hudson Thames. I think if I had to
That's a
guess his
fantastic.
name,
If that is his name, that's a fantastic name. If that is
yeah,
correct.
I know it's Thames. I think it's Hudson. And I think he's sort of the first replacement voice actor to actually do an impression of the original actor rather than kind of do
Yeah.
something of their own. I suppose because Tom Holland is probably less likely to sue for like the rights to his voice, rather than Robert Downey Jr. or I was going to say Steve Rogers, but Chris Evans, one and the same really.
Pretty much.
But this was a crew that I really loved to see assembled. It's one that we're never going to see in the movies. Seeing these very background characters or minor characters or supporting characters, really, supporting the entire narrative of the episode, sort of anchored then by Spider-Man. So they had the strength and support of one top tier Avenger, and then sort of supplemented with more minor characters, except for Bucky. I'd say he's probably the biggest character within that initial crew. And I just thought it just led to so much fun because there are a lot of overtly comedic characters within that group, and I think that's what you needed in this episode to sort of offset the violence.
Yeah, completely. And ironically, we're talking about the Incredible Hulk on our Shang-Chi podcast. I really liked how they opened it with kind of Bruce Banner, and how Bruce Banner is kind of the initial focal point of the episode until it switches to, Peter Parker, I'd say. So I think that was a really smart move. And Mark Ruffalo, it's nice to see him back voicing the character. It's he's great. And I think for me, what makes this episode work so well is the fact that they don't necessarily shy away from the consequences here. They don't say, okay, this is zombie apocalypse, we're going to cure everyone. No, like they kill Captain America, they kill Iron Man, they kill Happy, they kill Sharon, they kill Hope. They kill a lot, pretty much every main character who turns into a zombie here, which I really liked, because kind of sort of says to me that a Marvel zombie shouldn't really have a happy ending. A lot of these what ifs, I was kind of a little bit concerned that they would just sort of have it in a nice little fairy tale, wrap it up in a bow kind of thing. But no, it's not
And then the
necessarily
Doctor
happy.
Strange episode destroyed us.
Yeah, I mean, the Doctor Strange episode I think is still marvelous. And I think this one is close to that level. It's not quite there for me, but it's still a really strong episode. And yeah, I think there's a lot of nice character dynamics here with ones that we're not necessarily familiar with that really do work. I'm talking about Spider-Man and Hope Van Dyne here. Really, I think they're really great.
Yeah, I thought a bit flirtatious. I got a bit of a vibe that Janet liked
Yeah,
Peter, which was a bit weird.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
uh, it was such a great episode, and I think you mentioned Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. You know, I would say that this is, in my opinion, by far the most impressive the animation has been this season. Aside from Mark Ruffalo, if you look at Happy Hogan, that is John Favreau. That is one of the most impressive, like,
It's good.
one-to-one animations of a human I've ever seen in my
Yeah, no,
life.
certainly it is good.
But then you look at Sharon Carter, and she's just a bit, you know, a bit nondescript, like, entirely,
Could be anyone.
it could be literally any blonde woman. But then you look at Mark Ruffalo, and clearly, they've come under an issue when it came to bringing back, the Incredible Hulk scenes from episode 3, where, we mentioned in that episode they had to do this weird halfway between Ed Norton and Mark Ruffalo, but it was voiced by Mark Ruffalo, and clearly they've continued that in this episode. So it winds up that he looks kind of like Mark Ruffalo, but not really enough. And I think when he's sort of acting as one of the main leads to the episode, it's a bit disconcerting.
Yeah, especially when you kind of think that, um, theoretically they should kind of be moving towards kind of a smart Hulk, but it kind of seemed like it was just comic book Hulk at the end there, really, didn't it? And it's strange, yeah. It's a weird balance between Mark Ruffalo and Ed Norton, I think. I really liked the Hulk design in episode 3. I thought it was a really good balance. It was kind of comic book Hulk. Um, but yeah, nonetheless, it was a bit bizarre seeing an animated Mark Ruffalo, to be honest, especially with the short hair, having so freshly, seen him in a lot of movies with the longer hair as well. So it was kind of a bit weird, but nonetheless, I thought the episode did really well. It's weird seeing as well, a lot of these characters. Like, I think Sebastian Stan's back here as well
Yep.
as Bucky Barnes. It's kind of weird seeing the Infinity War versions of themselves. He's got the long hair
hmm
and stuff like that. Especially seeing him in Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's quite bizarre. But how did you felt they deal with the whole sort of Wanda and Vision stuff? Because you know, it was a bit weird of a direction, I thought, for the episode. How did you feel about that, Callum?
Yeah, I'd say my biggest issue with the episode are people not acting like themselves. I was feeling really great about the episode. I was like, this is top tier Marvel. This is, by far my favorite episode of this season.
Yeah,
And then I felt the Wanda reveal appeared out of nowhere. Felt a bit underwhelmed, especially
yeah, I
because I
agree.
think Vision is one of the people in the MCU least likely to do that. He's lured innocent people to their death, including Black Panther. At least with the intention of presumably feeding him to Wanda. And then there are multiple times where uh, you know where the entire mission of this episode is to find a cure. So you would think that the fact that Bucky has to kill his childhood best friend would be torturous, because the whole intention of this mission is to find a cure. And if they hadn't encountered him and they had successfully got the cure, then he could have been hypothetically reunited with his best friend. But
Hmm.
now, because he's cut him in half, that's completely out of the question. And then he just ends that, instead of being heartbroken, he just ends it with a kill line. I guess this is the end of the
Oh,
line.
man, it's
You know,
brutal,
it
isn't
was
it? It's
it was
brutal.
that, and even more so when Sharon Carter shot Happy in the head and just said blam, and I was just like, what what are you doing? Like, these are clearly, dear friends, or at least, at the very least, a human that you've interacted with, and they were just so callous. And I would understand if it was just, the fact that they were trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, but they were trying to reverse it. But now you've completely eliminated the possibility of that person living
Yeah,
beyond this,
yeah,
and
exactly that.
they showed no shred of sadness or
No, there's no
remorse.
remorse. There's no remorse whatsoever. And the episode makes the confusing decision to, they have the classic sort of zombie trope of let's split up and look for clues or something to that
Yeah,
degree. And they decide to put the two non-powered individuals together. I'm talking about Happy and
mm,
Sharon there. I'm thinking,
the useless ones.
I'm thinking that is not a good idea. Yeah, especially just having two non-powered, like, especially because the zombies have the powers of their Avenger selves. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as if they get eaten by zombies and they're just zombies. Like, they're super powered
Yeah,
zombies, which is actually something reasonably fresh. I don't think I've seen really that before, um, to
yeah,
a degree. So I think that's an interesting avenue, and um, I would like to see this in live action, but I wouldn't necessarily like to see a live action version of this. I think that this episode does things where the characters aren't necessarily themselves, and certainly the episode makes some very confusing decisions to make their deaths comedic. And an apocalyptic Avengers where everyone's dying should not be funny. No matter, even if it's Marvel. So I think having Spider-Man feel a little bit of remorse was to the end was what I wanted every character to feel. Especially with Bucky being so callous, killing Steve, and Sharon with Happy and things like that. Um, yeah, it's interesting as well. We get kind of an Uncle Ben mentioned in here. It's kind of the first time any
yeah.
MCU projects kind of reference that. Do you think that's maybe going to be something that they're going to lean into with No Way Home or something, or what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think this is like leading up to something big happening in the movies. They sort of use the comics as like a testing ground to see whether it's going to be well received by fans.
Good point.
They'll put a new spin on a character and see whether that's going to be well received, because that's how they plan to adapt them for the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is a very safe environment to act as a testing ground for what the audiences respond to positively.
Yeah, I
So I
agree.
mean, yeah, maybe they're wanting to sort of gauge the reaction in general, based on the reception of this episode, and especially its attitude and portrayal of Spider-Man. I'm curious about how they're going to approach it in Spider-Man No Way Home. It would be, it seems that if the rumors are true, that film is going to be pure fan service, and I think to that end, I feel like they're going to make Toby, you know, uh, Tom Holland's Uncle Ben, because I mean, I feel like if you're going to commit to the fan service, you must commit to it. I mean, I don't know how that plays. We've sort of talked about in the Riverdale episodes where the parents, or where the kids play the younger versions of the parents.
Yeah,
I feel like the similar headache of like the weirdness of that is probably going to play into the fact that
certainly.
he was with an Aunt May and he looks like a Peter Parker. Probably a bit too weird. I don't know
Yeah.
how they'd work that, but I feel like if they were going full fan service, that's what they do.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good testing ground to see whether audience would like it. And I think I really like the way they dealt with Spider-Man here. It's especially like the look they give him as well. It almost looked to me like an animated version of that sort of raised webbing suit from Civil War. It felt sort of tangible. It's got like the web shooters on the outside. It looks classic Spidey, to be honest. It really does look well. And
Better.
yeah, I think you're right. I think it looks really good. It's better. And of course, I mentioned that the episode kind of takes a lot of liberties from the comics and stuff, and having Black Panther be alive to kind of have one of the zombified Avengers to eat is straight from that Marvel zombie. So I like the way they handled that there. But my standard of the episodes were, one, Doctor Strange's cloak, and also two, decapitated Ant-Man. It's still hilarious. That is fantastic what they did there.
Yeah, with Black Panther, based on the MCU character that we know, and how they've turned him into a bit more of a comedic character using the second episode of What If. Based on the actual live action appearances that we've seen of him, specifically, up to this point, he would have had Black Panther, and he would have had Civil War, and in those, he's quite earnest. and he's all about Wakanda. And I honestly don't think that if he wasn't concerned about the safety of Wakanda, that he would even help. Like, I don't think that we see him being part of the like lineup of like the first five of them to go out and try and sort the situation out. Clearly the Avengers were reunited under the basis of this, rather than the threat of Thanos. So he's there like on the front lines with like four or five others. I don't think he'd do that. I don't think he'd leave Wakanda unless he was worried about Wakanda.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, because a lot of his development in the films is him trying to manage his, the priority of Wakanda, but also its effect in the outside world and stuff. So I think, yeah, he does become quite engrossed in Wakanda's safety, maybe in the movies at this stage. But by the end, he's able to sort of manage that and sort of engage with the rest of the world. So I think you're right. I think there's potential issue there, but yeah, I don't have any further comments in the episode apart from the sort of ambiguity of the ending. I was
Mm.
kind of wanting an extra 20 minutes to see if they do get the cure and stuff, but they kind of just they just leave it at, okay, we got to Wakanda, but there's a zombified Thanos here. What's going on?
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on that? Where do you think they're going with it? Because it almost felt to me like, okay, this is part one of a
Yeah.
multi-part what if section. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, this is the first one that I watched with my brother, and he said to me after, oh, how many of these do you actually think are going to get a part two? And I was like, well, probably none of them, because you don't get far by sort of retreading the same ground over and over.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like most of these are going to end on a very ambiguous note, on a cliffhanger, and then we're just never going to hear from them again, because it'd just be too much effort to continue every single one of those universes over and over and over. This is the one that has the most interesting potential. But I still don't think they're going to go for it. I think the uh, the note of hope that they end on with then the Thanos reveal is sort of the implication that he then gets the final stone snaps, and then the universe is already too ravaged by the zombies to even bother trying to trying to get the world back to normal. So
Yeah.
they probably just call it a day. So I think that's really how the universe would end. And I mean, I don't know that we need to see any more of that.
Yeah, no, certainly. I think you're right. I'd like to see, I'd like to see a continuation of the story to a degree, but I would like to see maybe how it impacts other characters. Because obviously we've got sort of a limited amount of characters here with due to the runtime. So I'd like to see how it would impact others. But that being said, I don't have any further remarks in the episode, Callum.
I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned that, it's superpowered zombies that we see here. I was just wondering, what's your general opinion on zombies in film and television? Do you prefer competent or stupid zombies?
I kind of like. Mm, I kind of like how Zombieland deals with it, where the first film they're kind of sort of classic dumb zombies, but by the second film they kind of show that they're evolving. I kind of like
Yeah.
evolving zombies, where every film the stakes would get higher, or episode. I'm not familiar with The Walking Dead, but I think in Walking Dead, they're reasonably capable. I'm not sure if they can swim and things like that, but
They're fucking slow though.
they're
You're like, how
slow.
is
Though,
it ever
yeah,
possible that any of these are biting these people?
yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it's difficult because I really like it. I like the idea of superpowered zombies, and I think that's something that the MCU could definitely explore in a further avenue, but yeah, I think there's potential there. What about you?
Yeah, I'd say in general, I prefer stupid. I agree with you that the evolution thing is quite interesting because they're obviously a species in and of themselves. So that is quite interesting. Uh, and I think superpowered ones was a very fresh take. I mean, obviously one that the comic has dealt with before. But yeah, I agree. For the zombie genre as a whole, I thought it was something new that I really
Yeah,
appreciated.
1,000,000%, bro, 1,000,000%.
So I think it would have been nice to have, a legit horror film, set within the MCU where this happens. But then, you've got to worry about, the lasting effects of that on the universe, where they've already done a lot of that. They already do a lot of universe or, earth altering events. We've probably seen that happen, too many times already. So, I mean, I think having one ravaged by zombies would probably be a step too far. That I think we've got to recognize that this is the best that we're ever going to get. When it comes to scariness or goriness.
Yeah.
Maybe Doctor Strange 2 is going to be something new and different in regards to that. But I thought for what Disney was able to do, I was thoroughly entertained on a sort of gory horror element. The moment when when Hope like grew and then exploded out of Sharon, I thought was I was sort of taken
Smart.
aback. I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
It was unique. Yeah.
Disney came to play.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's a lot of interesting avenues to explore here. There's a lot of gruesome deaths as well for an animation. So yeah, I'd like to see them explore it further. I'm not sure though with this story. I'd like a fresh Marvel Zombies or something where they take it, down a different route, or how it maybe impacts. I think a zombie outbreak in like the Raft prison would be pretty fun. To see how they all deal with trying to escape the prison. I don't know, something like that. But I'm not sure if that would work.
Yeah, I mean that definitely would work. If you have it entirely self-contained to one building, and one where it can't possibly spread to the outside of the universe, then you end up just having this contained horror film. I think that's like the best thing they possibly could do, because then you don't have to worry about universe altering effects. You just have to worry about the survival of however many characters are in there. I mean, if they did like that as the Thunderbolts film or something, wouldn't that
That'd be pretty cool.
awesome?
Yeah, I would enjoy that. I would really I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, imagine. But if
So
you're going to
I
rate
don't
the
have anything
episode, what do you
else.
give it?
Yes. Again, if you listen back to any of our prior episodes, it's just arbitrary. I just throw out. I'm like, this is good.
Me
It
as well.
gets a good score. I'm gonna give it a 9. No basis. I'll be honest. I'm getting like less and less calculated or
Less
explainable
fucks are given.
with my with my scores. I'm just like 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's easier and more cut and dry with new movies that we talk about, because we do massive hit or piece of shit, which is fairly binary. Even if it is a bit unreasonable, because I mean something could be mediocre and we're like, it's a piece of shit, but just a bit of fun. But I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna give a quick reaction to all 5 so far. First one, this is all in retrospect. I felt probably better about all of them as soon as I watched them.
Me as
First
well.
one, boring. Second one, funny, entertaining. Third one, great setup per resolution. Fourth one, tragic and impressive. This one, probably too funny for its own good, but
Yeah.
overall entertaining, with a bit of a weak resolution in regards to who lured them into the trap. I just don't think Vision would do that, because if he can't bring himself to kill her, like, just let her starve. Then you don't need to feed her. You don't have to be the one responsible for her death. Just don't kill innocent people. I just don't. I just thought that there were so many moments that were so out of character, and it would be perfectly excusable if the Nexus event was far back in time enough that their birth was different. So their actual character was different. But every single thing about their character is the same up until Ant-Man and the Wasp. So there's no reason why Vision would feed his friends to his girlfriend of like a few months.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely spot on there, Callan, to be honest. And it's interesting because I really enjoyed the aspect of the origin of the apocalypse, with it being the quantum realm and stuff. And ironically enough, it's kind of it's those characters, Hank Pym and stuff, that are the villains of the episode arc, in a way, like some of the third one.
You ruined another universe.
Yeah, but I'd have to concur. I'd have to give it 9 as well. I think this one is probably my second favorite. I think this is, at the top is the Doctor Strange one, then this one, then probably this Black Panther one, then the serial killer one, and then the Captain Carter episode.
Exactly the same for me.
Yeah, I think they're all really good. It's just at the time, it was probably a bit of recency bias in there, I'd imagine, from us both. But there's no real bad episodes, I don't think. I think everyone's been reasonably, they're very consistent. But yeah, I'm excited for the next one as well, bro. It's gonna be a good series. So yeah, that wraps up another What If review in the channel. Thanks very much for your time, Callum. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you very much for viewers for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts and What If down below. We'd love to read them. And thanks very much for your support in the latest Marvel podcast with our Shang-Chi review. We appreciate that massively. And hope you guys enjoy. So yeah, hope you guys are all well, and your family and friends are all safe and well too. Take care, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.